I quit 5 habits to lower my cortisol in postmenopause, and the difference has been absolutely shocking, even to me as a health psychologist who studies this kind of thing all the time. Now, if you're doing everything right and you're eating clean, you're working out hard, you're pushing through the fatigue, but you're still gaining weight right around the middle and you're waking up at 3 a.m. feeling tired, no matter how much you rest, this video is going to explain exactly why. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you're going to have a completely different understanding and 5 specific changes you can start making today. I'm Dr. Rosemary. If we haven't met, I'm a doctor of health psychology and also a cortisol specialist. Okay, so the first thing, here's something that stunned me. With everything I know about cortisol, my clean dinners were triggering a cortisol spike every single night. For years, I kept my evening meals pretty light, salads, vegetables, maybe a piece of chicken. I thought I was doing the right thing, but when you undereat protein at dinner, here's what happens. Your blood sugar drops overnight, and your body responds by releasing cortisol to signal your liver to release glucose. So instead of cortisol declining through the night like it should, it surges. And that is exactly why so many postmenopausal women wake up between 2 and 4 a.m. feeling alert, anxious, and wide awake. That's not insomnia. That is a cortisol event driven by insufficient protein. And when you consistently eat 35 to 50 grams of protein at dinner, like salmon or ground chicken, your blood sugar stabilizes overnight. Cortisol stays on its own natural downward curve, and your body is finally able to complete the hormonal repair work. It can only do this, by the way, in deep sleep. That means better sleep quality, lower morning cortisol, reduced belly fat accumulation, and more stable energy and mood the following day. I noticed a difference in my sleep within days, not weeks, days. You don't need to eat a perfect diet. What you need is enough protein at dinner. So start tonight. Add a real protein source to your evening meal and give it 1 week. Your sleep and your cortisol are going to thank you for it. Download my free guide, How to Calm Cortisol Chaos, in this video's description. Habit number 2. I quit high-intensity cardio as my main exercise. I know this one is going to be hard to hear because I lived for intense cardio, but it turned out to be one of the biggest drivers of my elevated cortisol, and I was doing it about every other day. High-intensity exercise is a cortisol trigger. Your body reads it as acute physical stress, and it floods your system with cortisol and adrenaline to fuel the effort. Now, in your 30s, estrogen helped by modulating and clearing that cortisol response pretty quickly. In postmenopause, without that hormonal buffer, the cortisol reaction is higher and it sticks around longer. When you're already operating from a stressed, sleep-deprived place, as so many of us are, adding daily HIIT workouts or intense cardio is basically pouring fuel onto a cortisol fire. And the result is more abdominal fat, more inflammation, and more exhaustion, and a metabolism that feels completely stuck. When I shifted my main movement to strength training, walking, Pilates, the change in my body composition was remarkable. These forms of exercise build lean muscle, and that improves insulin sensitivity, and it also reduces cortisol. They don't chronically spike your stress hormones. Lean muscle is also the most metabolically active tissue in your body, because the more you build lean muscle, the more efficiently you burn fat, even when you're at rest. And here's some good news. Women who make this shift often report reduced belly fat, better recovery, better mood, and more consistent energy within 4 to 6 weeks. So you don't have to give up your high-intensity workouts forever. But if your cortisol is dysregulated, high-intensity cardio as your daily default is working against you. It's working against your body. It's not working for it. So try swapping out some of that cardio for strength training and see how differently your body is going to respond. Habit number 3, I quit extended fasting windows past 16 hours. See, I thought longer fasting meant faster fat loss. What I didn't realize was that I was using a tool that was dramatically spiking my cortisol and making my belly fat worse. Intermittent fasting has a real benefit. I'm not dismissing it at all, but prolonged fasting when your cortisol is high and you're already having hormonal imbalance, like 18, 20, or even 24 hours, is a physiological stressor. And when your body goes without food for extended periods of time, your cortisol rises to mobilize glucose and keep your body running. For postmenopausal women who are already managing a more reactive stress response, this just increases and elevates your cortisol load. I was starting with my cortisol already elevated. My cortisol at night was high when it should be declining. I had stronger cravings, more emotional reactivity, and my body was naturally resisting fat loss. Shortening your fasting window to 10 or 12 hours, breaking your fast within an hour of waking with protein and good healthy fat, and stopping your eating 3 hours before bed is going to reset that cortisol rhythm. Women who make this shift report reduced cravings, better blood sugar stability, and improved mood and cognition, and steady progress with fat loss. Rather than extremes, work with your cortisol rhythm instead of fighting it. So if you've been fasting for 16 hours or more and you're not seeing results, not the results you expected, your cortisol may be the reason. Shortening your window isn't giving up. It's giving your hormonal system what it actually needs to heal. Try a 12-hour window. Do it for 2 weeks and pay attention to how your body is changing. Download my free cortisol quiz and see how stress might be affecting you. It's in this video's description. Habit number 4, I quit working late at night and losing sleep. I used to treat late nights as a badge of honor, right? As a driven woman, building a business, staying up until midnight felt like a dedication. What it actually was, as I know now, was the single most damaging thing that I could do to my cortisol and my hormonal health. Sleep is not optional for cortisol regulation. It is a primary mechanism through which cortisol actually resets. During deep sleep, your body clears excess cortisol and restores hormonal balance and regulates the inflammatory markers that are already elevated in postmenopause. When your sleep is cut short or your bedtime is past 11 p.m., you shorten that entire process. Your cortisol doesn't get a chance to fully reset. And over time, chronic sleep loss blunts your cortisol. And when you wake up in the morning, it should spike, but instead you wake up feeling foggy and flat, and you're reaching for caffeine, which locks you into a cortisol cycle. You never really get to fully reconnect and correct. Aim for 7 to 8 hours of sleep with a consistent bedtime of 10 or 10:30, even 11. The downstream hormonal effects are profound. Cortisol levels come into balance, and growth hormone, which is the hormone that drives fat loss and tissue repair, peaks during deep sleep and finally begins doing its job. Leptin and ghrelin, the hunger-regulating hormones, rebalance, which means fewer cravings and more natural hunger signals. My mental clarity, my emotional regulation after putting sleep first, completely turned around. You have to remind yourself that your work is going to be there tomorrow. Your HPA axis cannot recover from chronic sleep deprivation, not with coffee and not with willpower. Choose one non-negotiable. Whether it's bedtime by 10:30, screens off, 1 hour before bed, give sleep your highest attention. Download my How to Calm Cortisol guide. It's in this video's description. The habit that most women skip over is the one that may actually be driving more of your cortisol than all the others combined. What it is, from a biological standpoint, your body doesn't know how to distinguish between physical stress and psychological stress. So things like chronic worry, emotional overload, an overwhelming schedule, all that your body knows is stress. Now, for me, I used to sort of dismiss the psychological stress. As high achieving women, we have been conditioned to just push through and manage everything, and we're going to get through it, right? But your nervous system is paying for that. And with high cortisol in postmenopause, you cannot afford the psychological dysregulation. Paying attention to stress relief is not a luxury. It is a necessity when it comes to regulating cortisol. Things like deep breathing calms the sympathetic nervous system, and setting healthy boundaries and saying no is actually a great hormonal intervention. Right alongside nutrition and exercise, when you get good sleep, it reduces your inflammation, it makes you more emotionally grounded, and there's no amount of clean eating or exercise that can take the place of focusing on your stress response. So you want to start with 5 minutes of deep diaphragmatic breathing in the morning. Your adrenal glands will begin responding immediately. These 5 habits, eating too little, protein at dinner, relying on high-intensity cardio, fasting too long, and sacrificing sleep for productivity, and dismissing psychological cues, kept my cortisol levels high, way into postmenopause. But you don't have to do that. You can change your entire life by picking one habit from the list and putting it into practice for the next 2 weeks. Let your body show you what's possible when your cortisol finally has the right environment to bring it back into balance. I would love to hear which of the habits resonated most with you, or which one you're still holding on to. Drop it in the comments. I read every one of them. But now that you know the 5 habits I quit to lower cortisol in postmenopause, you might be wanting to learn 11 belly fat burning foods I got wrong until I became a cortisol specialist. But how do you do that? Well, it all starts by watching this video right here, because when you pair what you just learned with what's coming up in this video, it's going to be a lot more powerful. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.